And I think we're live. There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm going to go live over. I just have to click on Instagram. Give me a second. And I think we're live there. There we go. So, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whatever time zone you're in the world. Dr. Ricky T here with not good hair today. Just got in from my morning walk. Happy Wednesday, all. And I don't know if you were a follower of mine. Um, um, I do this thing on Wednesdays about 8:30 ish California time. So, excuse me. So I'll get right to it because I know how busy we are. However, let me just comment on that. Wow, we are such a culture of give me the sound bite, give me the quick hit, give me the fix, give me the. So even this morning, I could feel my own and urgency is a good thing. Urgency has a light side and a shadow side. Um, However, this morning I could feel make sure you have a sound bite and make sure it's quick and make sure it's short because people don't have time. And yeah, that's sort of living into the current level of the consciousness that's going on out there, right? The collective consciousness. So we don't have time, and I'm so busy, and there's so much coming at me, right? And okay, actually, just pausing for a second, I want to make sure that this is all working. Um, Jocelyn, who's on my team, our team is check in. Joss, can you let me know if things are happening? Just text me that all is well. Otherwise, I'm talking into the universal nothing, which is just fine too. Um, so we'll find that out in a moment. I know there's a delay, by the way, in terms of the signal goes out and then there's a delay in the response and that kind of stuff. So, okay, let me go back to that opening thought, and I do want to talk about Seth Godin today because I read a thing of his this morning and I really liked it. But this idea of having to be a certain way because this is the way um, this is the way the culture is and this is the way it needs to happen now, and so I have to keep living into or um, you, you know it, it it it's sort of like what sells now, so do it that way now, right? And ironically, things come along that are outside the box of how it normally goes. I'm thinking about um, Broadway plays or movies. Well, this is what sells, and so we're going to do a movie. And then something comes along that's not in the genre or right. It's so outside the box, and oh my, right. I mean, I think of Hamilton, right? Hamilton came along, and there was sort of the traditional musical, and then Hamilton comes along and changes up the game, and people are blown away, and so I guess what I'm really saying to all of us here is um, write the musical you want to write. Do it the way you want to do it. Do it in line with um, the way you see it serves best. I've been reading and did a book club call this week for Mel Robbins' newest book, Let Them. And one of the things, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of the book. It's really great. It's really about sort of letting go of trying to control people, all the standard stuff we all try to do. It's really it's a big relief book around, here's how to do the dance of life better. And she's really come up with a very simple but yet profound concept. But my point of this is what I love about Mel Robbins is that she keeps breaking the rules, if you will. So even on her TED Talk, I remember watching a TED Talk of hers, and TED Talks are, the standard TED Talk is you stand in a spot and it's 19 minutes, and I know they've opened up the aperture on that, and there's lots of different ways for it to happen now. But I remember watching online Mel Robbins TED Talk, and she just I don't know whether she told them. I have no idea. I would love to interview her about it someday, which I might ask her to do that. I know she's probably a little busy, and but you never know. Go ask and you find out, right? Um, so yeah, yeah. Hello, Carmela. Yeah, we're talking about breaking the rules, right? And it's ironic. I wasn't going to talk about this, but here I am talking about it because I could feel my own, like, make sure this is really short and make sure this is a soundbite and make sure they can write it down. And instead of like, I'm going to find my way to this talk this morning. And if it serves, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But back to the Mel Robbins moment. I do get tangential, by the way, and can lose people. So ask my husband. He'd be like, "Okay, what's the segue over there?" And sometimes there's no segue. It's just like, and I have to name it, tangential moment. And he goes, "Okay." So, by the way, yeah, if you want to make comments, you all can do it in the Facebook group that I'm in. I think you can do it also inside Instagram. I think Instagram, by the way, they come in a little bit later, we've noticed. So, but if you want to make a comment or ask a question, love to interact, right? But back to the Mel Robbins moment. So she steps off the stage at this TED Talk and goes into the audience, right? I have no idea if she was given permission to do that or told the producer she was going to do that. She just did that, right? And, maybe the producer's heads, were popping off in the back of the room, like, what are you doing? And he didn't care. And, the TED Talk went on to what, so still not live on Instagram. Oh, okay. So I'm just getting feedback. So something's happening. Let me just double check something here, gang. On Instagram, I thought it went live. Oh, there it is. Apologies. Okay. I didn't push the right button. I'm not going to go backwards here, but I will pick up a new topic. For those of you that aren't, I failed on the tech side. I didn't push one final little button. So I was just chatting about doing it the way you want to do it versus, well, this is what it has to happen. It has to be a sound bite and it has to be this and it has to be this and otherwise it won't work. And it's all exhausting, right? There are tips, there are hints, there are guides. I work with a guide in my business development life to help me understand how to do this better and all that stuff. So it's not a resistance to all that. Okay, I was just told we're now live on all platforms. Pretty cool. If you don't know about this technology, it's Ecamm is this software. I don't get a percentage of anything if I sell Ecamm. I'm just letting you all know it's a really great platform, really great way to have your voice and image and wisdom to many, many platforms at the same time, which is pretty cool. So let me get to the topic at hand today on this Wednesday, and it is Seth Godin. Some of you know Seth Godin's work. Is one of my ultimate favorite books, right? It's called The Practice, Shipping Creative Work, right? And what I love about it, it's about getting your thing into the world. I mean, that's the context of this book. He doesn't get into the technology and how to do it on social media. He gets into the mindset of it and the psychology of it and the reasons why we don't and the reason why we should and sort of all that. So, and what I love about this book, it's just, it's one of those books you can just pick it up and he's numbered them all, right? All these, they're basically little sound bitey. They're not sound bites. They're more like mini lessons, right? So I just opened it up to a page today. I love that. The kind of book you just pick it up and go, okay, universe or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it. Like, what do you got for me today? And this one came in. So I'm just going to read it, probably comment on it, and would love your thoughts. So again, Seth Godin's The Practice, Shipping Creative Work. This is number 106 on page 126 if you have this book. We've given this book to our clients over the years. Such a great, insightful book. Okay. Number 106, Serving the Work. Serving the work. The process of intentional action requires us to set aside what we need so that we can focus on what the work needs. Just notice these distinctions. He's going to really sort of blow our minds on the shift of the way to think about this. I'm going to read that one again. The process of intentional action requires us to set aside what we need so that we can focus on what the work needs. See, it's very much like the work needs me to do this, right? The work, this is so good. The work itself is our client, and we owe it something. And what I love about this concept is he turns the work into its own entity. It's like, what is my relationship with my work? Well, my work needs this to happen. My work is telling me, please make me real, right? So the work itself is our client, and we owe it something. If I keep rereading every sentence, this will take forever. I'm going to get through this. Okay. This commitment can get out of hand, right? If we find ourselves out of balance, unable to sustain the effort, the work will suffer. If we find ourselves out of balance, unable to sustain the effort, the work will suffer. But too often we find ourselves at the other extreme, seeking confidence or personal gratification and forgetting why we created the work in the first place. The work is your client. This is so, we always think the client is the work. We do the work for the sake of the client, of course, but he's really shifting our energy to the work is your client. This is so great. I just love this one. So the work is your client. It's hired you, meaning it is the work. It's hired you to help you make a change happen. Getting paid for our work can confuse us because it might seem that all we need to do is serve the person with a checkbook. But that's the strategy of a hack. And it rarely leads to the contributions we set out to make in the first place. There's a tension. The gap between what the work wants and what the person paying for it wants. Dancing in that gap is the work of creating our art. I love that. I'm going to read this one again. There's a tension, but the gap between what the work wants and what the person paying for it wants. Dancing in that gap is the work of creating our art. On one hand, the self, yourself, 2 words, yourself, has a vision for a possible future. On the other side, the person you're seeking to serve, let me say that again, make this really clear. On the other, let me go back. On one hand, the self, yourself, has a vision for a possible future. On the other, the person you're seeking to serve and lead brings a set of expectations and desires to your work. The two will never be perfectly aligned. Okay, this is like freeing, right? Those two will never be perfectly aligned. And this friction is the place where your work can thrive. He gets really pragmatic. I love this example. When someone needs a drill bit, we can hand them a drill bit. But if someone wants to explore a new frontier, they're going to need our help finding a creative way forward. And that's where your point of view and your contribution live. We push on behalf of the work, and when we do, we may find that the next customer is even more eager to enroll in the journey we seek to lead. So that's number 106. In the context of this, again, the big takeaway for me is the work is my client. It impacts my clients, of course, but what is the work? Whatever that means. I'm doing. Can you believe I just did air quotes? Really, I'm like 1986. What is the work that I'm called to do? And let me focus on the work and get the work into the world. And then this is my take on it. And be clear on the messaging, be clear on the purpose, being clear on the difference you want to make. Be the voice of the work. And then your clients, your perfect clients, will find you, right? So it's a very big shift from, how do I get clients and all that? Like, focus on the work. The right clients will show up. So that's a pretty big, meal to swallow. Or it's a bad metaphor, but that's a big shift because we're so trained to, clients and getting clients and how do I get clients, and step into what does the work want you to do? What is the work you're here to do? What is the messaging from, from the work? What is the thing, right? And it's the way to think about this in your meditations or in your morning walks. This is where I find mine. I go for morning walks and I get all these ideas and downloads for what's the work want now, and what are my clients wanting now, and how can I address that. But I love what he talks about. There's this overlap of what the clients want and what you want for your clients, and they'll never absolutely be perfectly aligned. That's a fascinating thing to sort of free it up, isn't it? When I read that this morning, I went, oh my God, that's so what I needed. Because I get very like, oh, it's attached and this better work and I got to help. And, oh, right. Instead of like, no, here's my thing. My thing in the world is help people play a bigger game. Here's my message. There's my brand. And how do I help people close that gap? And what does that look like? And what's the program, or what's the methodology, or the means in which I can help people with that? And we're all working on that, right? We're all working on what's the form of the function that you're here to do into the world. So those are my thoughts for Wednesday. Comment, question, disagree, pushback, all the stuff, right? I'm here to activate. I remember saying this I was in front of a room of about, I don't know, 300 people at one point a while back. And I was offering my wisdom, and I think I brought somebody on stage and I was coaching them about their impact in the world they wanted to have, because that's my game, right? Is helping you have the impact you want to have in the world. And of course, income follows. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. I don't lead with the income card. I do lead with the impact card, right? What is the impact you want to have? And get really honest and clear and direct and proud of that, right? And the rest will sort of work itself out. It always has for me. It always has for me. But I was saying, oh yeah, in that room, I remember saying, I don't know, I had some huge opinions about something, and somebody even raised their hand and had a huge disagreement, and I was like, fantastic. And I reframed it pretty quickly, because the last thing you want to do is convince somebody of your perspective. I proudly said, my job is to offer you some perspectives and some ways to think about things. And if you disagree, fantastic, because now you have clarity about what you believe and what you need to get into the world. So I'm not here to convince you of my perspective about how to get your thing into the world, or whatever it was the topic that we were talking about. My job is to animate and activate clarity for you. And they were like, oh, you're right. So I said, congratulations, you're clear. Go forth and, offer your wisdom, right? And, find a stage for you to offer that wisdom on, right? Because the other thing is, when you stand on a stage, or you're in front of a room or on a video like this, oh my gosh, it's such an easy place for people to kind of, right, have huge opinions, reactive opinions. And I like to call them co-creative opinions, that out of what I say, you're bouncing off of this and getting clarity, either aligning with it, reacting to it, not aligning with it, but what you're getting is clarity for yourself. And I invite you to, I leave you with that perspective, clarity for yourself from this versus, this is a big, oh, this is good. I need to put this into my next book. Instead of judging the person who said it, what if it's actually just giving you clarity about your own life, right? Instead of like, oh, that Rick Tamlin, oh my God, right? I wish he'd like, oh, I disagree completely. Fantastic. But instead of having to sort of, cancel or destroy the person, what if we just got clarity about what matters to us? We're going through this thing in our country. We all know, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot going on and we have opinions. And, instead of like about the person, there's a lot going on about the person. It's like, well, okay, this is what matters to me. What am I going to do about it? It's giving me clarity of what matters to me and the stand I want to take and the viewpoint I have. So what am I going to do about it? Instead of I just want that to be gone, because that's the thing we do. So we just want that to be gone. Anyway, that's a whole different talk. That's a different workshop. But I'll leave you with this exercise that I did yesterday for another class that I led. right? This is not a class, but I led a class yesterday and I talked about this. Um, Everybody has a reword: recharge, renew, rethink, reestablish, re-up, re remind. There's always a reword. There's always a reword. And I just invite you, I leave you, what's your reword this week that you need to focus on? I need to remember. I need to realign. I need to reevaluate. I need to realize. It's not really a reword, but it's in there. I need to, right? So that's not the best segue to this little homework from this call, but it was here and I went, oh, let me use it. What's your reword this week? And I'll just kind of, I pulled this book out. I've read this book probably 3 different times, but I needed to be reminded of this distinction that Seth offered today. Let me not cover his name, right? So there you go. More to come. It's almost the top of the hour. Carmela, nice to see you here. And if you have any comments or questions or, right, put them in the chats. You know how this works. And I know, how do I want to say this? There's a lot of us saying lots of things. And I invite you to minimize. If I resonate for you, great. If I don't, oh my gosh, go find the people that you resonate with, right? Um, so there is one other thing I want to make sure that I say. This is my messaging marketing moment. So I am doing I love the virtual event model. We use Ecamm, by the way, from our home, and I get 3 cameras, and we do the whole thing, right? I'm doing a 2-day event. Like, think of it more like a lab or a workshop. Jocelyn's putting the data in the chats in all the right places. It's called the Performance Lab. It's April 24, 25. There's a link in there, and $17 ticket if you put in save 20 at the checkout. Here's its context. It is a personal impact development 2 days. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole of how do you make 7 figures in 2 minutes and all that, being a little pedantic there, but we're not, there might be some money stuff, but we're mostly going to talk about you and how do you create and how do you bring the essence of who you are and what do you want to say and how do you say it with your energy, your philosophy, your ideology, and where to do it, how to do it, to have more people resonate with you or not. Because again, the clarity of your resonance, the clarity of your messaging, the clarity of what you're all about will either attract or repel. And that's the great news. And most of us are terrified of the repel part. But you want, if you're in the business of having greater impact with your good work in the world, i.e. play a bigger game, I keep using the wrong finger, because that's my thing. Playing a bigger game means you want bigger impact in the world, right? And how do you, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of all the different social media platforms. It's not a social media training. We'll just put a toe in the water in that. But it's going to be about you. This training is about you and letting yourself be freed up and excited and proud and, dare I say, loud about what it is you stand for, what you're messaging, but also you, the performer. One of the things that many people in my world say, and I hope you hear this in the right way, I'm just naming what people have said. I do these free calls twice a month, lots of different topics. And many people have said, I don't even know what your topic is. I just saw the link and I just want to be in your energy. I want to be in your positivity. I want to be in your community. And they come to these calls. And so it's not a topic that pulls them in over time. In the beginning, it's a topic that pulled them in. But over time, it starts to be just like, I just want to be in that space. And we're going to uncork that and help you really understand that, right? So related to that, I just mentioned one of my pop-up calls. Jocelyn has put that in there as well. This is free. Next Thursday, I think it's Thursday, next Thursday, the 6th, how to turn your story into a learning experience. How to turn your story into a learning experience. And of course, when I say story, there's many stories. But we're gonna help. I'm gonna help you understand not to become a good storyteller, but become a natural storyteller. Right? How does that just happen naturally? So that's next Thursday. There's a link in there. You can register for that. That's totally free. That's totally free. All right, everybody. That's a lot. Um, yeah. Happy Wednesday. And I'm sending you and yours and your family and your loved ones and all the circles that you hang out in, family and maybe a spiritual community or a church or your work, or what I'm sending everybody and the circles and the people in your lives much ease and peace and calm and low stress and less worry, because what I do know at my absolute core is that no matter what the circumstances look like outside of ourselves, we always have the ability to decide how to respond to the circumstances. I know that's Life Coachy 101. Mel Robbins talks about it in her new book called The Let Them Theory. But we all have the inner choice on how to respond or not, or be with what's going on in the world outside of me. And the advanced perspective, I don't want to call it advanced, let me just call it the most ultimate perspective I have is actually my outer life is a reflection of my inner life. So if I'm hanging out in a lot of fear inside myself, then I will actually experience and create a lot of fear outside of myself. And this takes work. I mean, that's the inner work, right? How do I remain in a state in the midst of the state? That's personal and, dare I say, leadership and spiritual development at its finest. So, okay, lots of pontificating here on this Wednesday. I recommend you go get this book if you want. If you are in the game of putting your message and your work into the world, recommend this highly. So useful. Doesn't get into the strategies, although he does it a little bit. It's not like, which platform should I use? It's not that kind of book. It's the inner dialogue that we need to keep working on about having your good work be seen and heard and experienced in the world, because that's my game, is having your work, your philosophy, your ideology, your difference you want to make be seen and experienced by more people. That's my game. So, all right, everybody, happy Wednesday, sending you and yours all kinds of good love and light and peace and ease. And I invite you to take a big deep breath if you're still watching, or if you are watching later. Just take a big deep breath, feel your feet on the ground, and just know with me, it's all okay. It's all okay. Be well, everybody. Take care. Bye for now. Now I have to click on some buttons to stop this, so hang on.